Welcome, everybody. I am so excited to be here right now. We are podcasting live from the brand new video podcast studio here at One Financial Plaza. I've got Evan Plotkin, John Simpson, Susan Riano, and Madden Sterrett. Also, artists have been working on the big Springfield mural, and that's why we're here today, to let everyone know what's been going on over on Bridge Street, John.
Oh yeah, we're making just finished this new large mural based on our feelings about Springfield.
Yeah, I am so excited. I've been over there a bunch of times taking video, photographs. It's just such an amazing mural, and I know the entire community is excited about it, and I think this would be a great way to let everybody know what it is and how they can be a part of it. Before we get there, though, let's back up a little bit. This all kind of started off, I think, with you, Evan, and meeting John.
Yeah, correct. I had been, I purchased this building in 2007, and one of the first things that I noticed was that the public space was like a desert. There was tumbleweeds blowing through the plaza. It was really a lifeless sort of building, and there was no energy here. And I knew that was something that I really wanted to work on, and so my instinct was to bring life here by bringing art, music, to restore the fountain out in the plaza. And so I started to work with different artists before I met John, and we were doing these public art projects in the lobby space, and I was starting to make some progress in sort of enlivening the building. And it was around 2008 or 9 when the former president of the Springfield Museum said, "You got to meet this guy, John Simpson. He's a professor at UMass, and his work is outstanding." And he works with these kids from the Commonwealth Honors College. And so he connected me to John, and that was really the genesis of a lot of things that have happened in Springfield with John and myself that proved to be very, very incredibly successful art installations and exhibits of art, murals, and other things that we've done, including we produced the Double Edge Theater in Forest Park for 2 nights. And it was really about how do we bring not only the life back to this building, but also how do we restore the city back to a cultural mecca that it once was. And how do you get people walking around and feeling good about the city, and how do you change that conversation? And John and I sort of seem to have the same kinds of sensibilities about art and visual arts especially. And so I invited him to do an exhibit and in the lobby, which was so successful, and his students participated. And we did a collaboration with the Springfield Symphony, and we just said, this is really fun. This is great. And it just started the ball rolling to do other things together. And that was about 15 years ago, and here we are.
So you and John started City Mosiac together through meeting each other.
Correct.
And John, what was can you recall maybe one of the first 1 or 2 projects? I know I have one in mind myself that you remember working in Springfield with City Mosiac on?
Well, we started with the class, and it was recreating a historic masterpiece at UMass, where we were doing the exhibits in the lobby of Evan's building here.
Okay.
And then we got interested in the symphony, and we did a collaboration with them where for their season finale, the students would do artworks based upon the themes of their season finale, and then we would exhibit them in the Mahogany Room at Symphony Hall.
Oh, wow.
And we would have the conductor come up to UMass and talk to the students about the themes and stuff and listen to the music, and it was really fantastic.
I mean, that's a very interactive project on an art scale.
Yeah, and incorporating both music and visual art was really great.
Wow. So after that, was that the first City Mosiac project that you guys produced together?
Technically, it wasn't City Mosiac, but
okay.
It was the first thing we did together. And as I told you before we got on air here, we did a lot of things before we officially had a nonprofit organization. Before we had a nonprofit organization, we were doing all kinds of things. In fact, the Jazz Festival was something that I've been involved with even prior to the Springfield Jazz and Roots. Before that, it was Hoop City Jazz, and I was really trying to create a visual art component to that. But this is before I met John. So when John came into the picture for me, I wanted to continue that theme with the Springfield Jazz and Roots Festival. So right behind me here in Court Square, we said, how can we do a live visual art presentation during the Jazz Fest? And so we thought of all kinds of creative ways to do that, and then came up with kind of the obvious, why don't we just paint the building? Why don't we just do a mural? And on these boarded up storefronts, which were looking pretty derogatory, and it was the building suddenly came to life after these murals were put on there, and that didn't stop with the Jazz Festival. John continued to do this when the Jazz Festival ended, and for the next several years, he was out there, even in the winter sometimes, with his boots and his gloves on, painting. You know, it was incredible, and the public was so appreciative of it. The interactive nature of his artwork and all of their artwork, quite honestly, it's photorealistic, and when it's on street level, people like to photograph themselves in front of the artwork, and it creates a very interesting piece, and it's kind of like a souvenir of being in Springfield. And when conventions would come to Springfield, the folks would spill out of the Mass Mutual Center and walk into the park to have lunch, and they'd look around and go, what the hell? Look at this. Incredible. And we would talk to these people and get their impressions of Springfield, and it was a completely different conversation. It was just amazing to hear people's sense of joy and wonder and what masterful work that John was doing on these walls. And we would just be there and watching them get their pictures taken. They didn't even know John was the artist in many cases until we went up to them and said, by the way, this is the guy who did all this work. And then it was just fun to get their reaction.
John, I got to tell you, I had a reaction from almost all of the paintings that went around Court Square. Everything from, of course, Charles Neville. You had Jimi Hendrix up there. You even had Europe 72 Grateful Dead image that I actually really appreciated seeing on the corner. Absolutely, it stood out. And without question, Evan, you're right. It fed many of us, right? Because it must have been difficult knowing how that building looked and knowing that it was just like beat up old plywood. How was it to work on that medium of that rough plywood that you had to still create such amazing imagery through?
Well, it's funny. It's like if I'm doing something, there's an image I want to paint. It doesn't matter what the surface is. I'll just really enjoy it. And it seems
really doesn't hinder you. You're like, no, it doesn't matter that it's not uneven. That's all part of it for you.
No, I kind of picture it in my head, and I just move my arm so that it gets enough paint on there, and so the body kind of tries to keep up with the mind and the eyes of what you're seeing already in your head. And so, in that way, even in the hottest days and the bright sun and stuff, if I know what I want to do, everything else really doesn't matter.
Nice. Do you remember a particular image that was challenging for you on that particular project?
Well, there were a few. One of them was I painted my friend Charlie Ryan Jr. on the wall.
Okay.
My other friend who remediates graffiti for the city saw it and then wiped it out. And then when I showed up and he saw how sad he was, he wanted me to paint it again. So I did, and at least he was sorry. And then another time I did Sgt. Pepper, and it was done, and he was going to varnish it for me. So he started varnishing it, and then the media came by and started interviewing him, and we got off track, and the whole thing wound up gray, so I had to paint the whole thing. But it came out better in the long run because it was more layers and stuff. So.
That's like you said, there's no mistakes, right? You just trust yourself, relax.
Yep.
You had some great things to share with me the other day about, and I've been thinking about your words ever since then, John. It's just, I just want to try my best. I want to relax. I want to see how things go.
And don't worry.
And don't worry. Those are John Simpson words right there, Springfield. So you want to take that on as you walk down the street. I think it's very fitting for where we're going here in life. John, tell us a little bit about Wizard of Oz, because that really, honestly, I have another podcast that I started about 6 years ago called Art in the Game, and actually the inspiration for the name of that podcast was you.
Wow.
Art in the Game was really it's a casino, nightlife, and entertainment podcast, but it was to let people know that we here in Springfield believe in art, and art is what really drives our game. And really, your artwork was literally the inspiration for the name of that program. So thank you for that. And would you please share, if I know everybody has seen it, it's gone. I'm sad that it's gone. But it was the Wizard of Oz card right on the front on State Street.
I'm so happy to hear that that it had a positive impression on you and stuff. Well, it was like, Evan and I looking at that building for so much time of being this like dried out old plywood and stuff. And like, we really wanted to cover every inch of it. And so that was a big expanse there facing MGM. And we really approved and appreciated the fact that they were coming here and they were really investing in the downtown. And they really cared about art and artists and stuff. And so that was kind of a greeting card that we did for them, and figured an MGM movie. And then there was like 4 spaces on the sides and 1 central one. So we were sitting down, Evan and the eraser and I, and just thinking about what it could be. So we need 4 faces and then a central image. And then Evan's always loved The Wizard of Oz, and I've always loved The Wizard of Oz. So we landed on that. And then it's like I barely remember doing it. It went so fast.
Wow.
That was during the winter, too.
There's no place like Springfield. Said it right on the bottom.
Yeah, we came up with the sayings there. Yeah. It's like,
was that you, Evan?
Well, I think we all came up with that sort of. It was a collaboration, but I think the inspiration for The Wizard of Oz happened because from the moment that John and I met, we would continue to encounter other like-minded people who sort of came along like into our tribe, so to speak. They just appreciated what we were doing. The eraser, for example, Mike Cass, who works for the city, was one of the first people that helped us get access to that building to do the murals on the wall, because he managed that for the city. The SRA owned 31 Elm Street. And
you have to get permission to do this, right, Evan? You can't just walk up with your paints and start painting on a building.
So we had sort of this, informal approval from Mike Cast, and he had all the keys, so it didn't really matter. And the other thing is that the Wizard of Oz has this theme of Dorothy, meeting the lion and the
Tin Man
and the Scarecrow. So we felt like this journey, this yellow brick road, had it was a good analogy to how John and I are sort of going down this road, and we're encountering these different people and being inspired by different things, and some things are not as pretty, when the monkeys and the witch descend on you. It's kind of scary. And I think you can draw some analogies to that here in Springfield, but we overcame them. We worked through a lot of the problems and the negativity.
Some resistance.
Yeah, and so we said, why not replace this negativity with beauty? It's a pretty simple thing, and but at the time there were people who just didn't understand it. They didn't see this as being an economic development driver, and boy, were they wrong. And now, everyone's on board with the whole concept of public art and murals, and it seems like it's really enjoying a really good time right now, and I thank John for kicking it off and getting people to see how an old dilapidated building that's ready to fall down, if you put murals around it, you don't have the same sense of
despair,
it shows that there's life there, there's some beauty there, and it's much more appealing to the people who live and work downtown.
I'm amazed at how that took the community. People really, it spoke to them, and it spoke to me. So I'm excited that we were able to look at it, and I'm sad that it's gone. But didn't you receive some accolade from somewhere about that?
Yeah, I just found out the other day that it wound up in the Library of Congress in 2019.
Holy cow.
Pleasant surprise.
That sounds pretty fun. So what does that mean exactly, that it ended up in the Library of Congress?
That a professional photographer, actually I think a few of them documented it, and then they had all this supplementary information about who did it, what it was all about and stuff, and so it was preserved in Congress.
Wow. So John Simpson, that's a great segue. Because, you know, as an artist, you've been in our community for how long have you been here in Springfield?
I'd say, well, since I was a child. You know,
Okay. You're a native of Springfield?
I was born in Holyoke, but then lived in West Springfield and Agawam, and then spent all of our time in Springfield, going to Steiger's Tea Room and Johnson's Bookstore.
I want to go to Steiger's Tea Room.
Springfield Museums. Yeah.
That was a fun place on the 4th floor.
Well, at the Forbes and Wallace windows with all the animated sculptures and stuff.
Oh, my
so
gosh. I just remember the subsidized cafeteria up at Steiger's was always a fun place for lunch.
Yep.
It seems like people interact with you everywhere you go. When you're doing artwork, you're very approachable, and I think that's not akin to a lot of artists who are in the middle of working. Is there something about working inside of the community like that speaks to you?
Yeah, you know, for many years I was like very isolated in the studio, and I like that too, just like being completely alone and getting into a meditative kind of practice. But when I started to, I guess this was at the University of Massachusetts many years ago, I worked at the University Gallery as a student, and we made these big avant-garde installations as teams working with an artist, and it was so much fun.
Okay.
That when I graduated and stuff, I kept painting, but then I liked the idea of doing something like that again in the future. So like 30 years ago, I decided to go volunteer at the Springfield Museums. And after helping these curators put up a show of really nice paintings with gold frames and stuff, they said, "Oh, Kay Nichols is over in the George Walter Vincent Smith Art Museum. She's making a castle. You should go help her out if you want." And I went over and met Kay, and she showed me a drawing with a number 2 pencil that just was a little sketch out, a graphic done by Emil Schnorr, who was the conservator back then, and nothing had been done yet. And she goes, "Can you make a castle out of this?" And so I was like, let's go for it. So we wound up getting Luan and 1x3s and spray paint, and it's crazy, you know, flex stone, and created a whole kind of fun castle and was able to use real museum objects in it, like suits of armor,
wow,
swords, and carved Italian furniture, all these different things. But I liked that they'd give me any theme, I could make something out of whatever materials were available. And then after doing that, the public responded so well, it became like an addiction. So I did lots of those shows over the years.
You like the public's response to the work.
I love seeing people happy and having it be educational, so the docents, the volunteers in the museums can take students through and describe everything in it, so it really helps them learn about these different topics.
I had no idea, John, that you actually created the Dr. Seuss sculpture garden there at
Oh, no,
Quadrangle.
actually I made the museum.
You made the museum, excuse me. I had no idea that you actually curated the museum at the Springfield Quadrangle for Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, I designed all the murals and the layout of things and the sculptures and the digital interactives for the 3 floors.
The digital, you did all the painting wall where the young people can paint and create their own artwork there. My daughter loves that.
Well, I didn't design that device, but it was my idea.
But it was your idea to put it there, right?
Yeah,
Take the credit.
I did place it there, you know.
You did a fabulous job inside of that. I just wanted to say that is an exciting place to go. If you haven't gone to the Dr. Seuss Museum at the Springfield Quadrangle at the Springfield Museums, you really ought to go and check it out. There's so much to see. Bring young people, middle-aged, old people. Everyone's going to have fun there. I love the colors and the flow of that old building works so well. You did a great job in there.
Thanks. It was a gradual process of getting permissions to take it to the next step, because eventually we had like 1 room, and then we got the whole 1st floor. Then we were able to start knocking through walls and making new doorways and closing other doorways and putting in new bathrooms. And then we put in a 3-floor elevator that gave us access to the 2nd floor and to the basement. And so then all that became part of the museum too. And then we connected with Dr. Seuss's stepdaughters in a major way, where they were so generous, and they just gave us so much of his artwork and all of his like art supplies and his books and his car and all sorts of different things.
And the car is in the museum now.
That's in the History Museum.
In the Vincent Smith?
No, the Lyman and Mary Wood Museum.
Lyman and Mary Wood Museum, sorry. That's exciting. I've got to go. I don't think I've seen the Dr. Seuss car yet.
Yeah, you've got to see the Grinch Mobile. It's really fun.
Isn't one of his family's artifacts here in 1350 in One Financial Plaza?
We have a bread wagon here, which is a historic object, but it's not necessarily from the Seuss bakery.
Oh, it's not.
But the research was done in that he did have a bread wagon, and during that same period, so it is a period piece that most likely resembles what the Dr. Seuss bakery used to deliver.
I love looking at it every time, and make sure we have some video for it here so people can see. I want to jump to one of the next projects that you both were really instrumental in pulling off was that huge I guess it's a reconstruction of a mural that was on the side of Worthington Street on the old photograph building. And that was, you had that done pretty much almost ready for last year's Springfield Jazz and Roots Festival. How was that project to work on?
We still had a little scaffolding up when the Jazz Festival happened. At least we were able to stand on it during the festival. That was great. It was so much fun. It was challenging. It was a puzzle with Susan and stuff. She's an architecture major. I got her degree in it and stuff. So she was great.
Susan, you worked on that?
I did, yes.
She was there every day with me on it and stuff.
Oh, no kidding. What were some of the things that you had to do with that particular mural, Susan?
So on that particular mural, I remember working on the Bloom's words, which are on the top of the
Yes.
mural, and they were almost
Completely gone, yeah.
Yeah, you could barely see anything. So I remember having to measure tiny piece of the O that's left, and then just applying that pattern to the rest of the letters and trying to reconstruct it just piece by piece.
Was that one of your first major, like, big murals that you've ever worked on?
The first big mural that I worked on with John was for MGM, the Indian motorcycle mural.
Oh, I didn't realize that you all did that mural.
You also worked on the Seuss Museum
I
with me,
did,
too.
for the Seuss Museum as well.
So you're one of the artists. So when people look at that Indian motorcycle mural on the side of the building, you were one of the artists, Susan, who helped create that.
Indeed.
Hey, how about that? That's a first here at One Financial Plaza Studios, Evan.
We've done so many things.
You forget about them.
John and Susan, yeah, it's hard to remember everything, but that was prior, when we were trying to do a lot of things in the city. It was around the time when MGM was trying to get their casino license here. So they took a particular interest, first of all, in my building, and then they met me and John, and we presented to them our idea of what the city should look like after a casino is built, and how that we can activate the entire downtown better through art, and how to make artists more sustainable here, and to attract more artists to come to Springfield. So we worked on a lot of different opportunities with MGM, and that led to them hiring City Mosiac to do that Indian motorcycle mural.
Wow, that's interesting. I had no idea.
And we did some other things. We worked with their principal designers, and we brought to them Western Mass artists to use their artwork rather than going out procuring their artwork from wherever they go in the world to buy their artwork for all the major casinos that they operate. They instead bought into the philosophy of using local artists and enabling those artists and using their work in the hotel rooms, in the common areas of the casino. So that was a part of our effort with MGM as well.
They were open to your ideas about having more of the outward things going on, too, and creating the sculpture park there and stuff.
Letting people kind of leave the casino and enter kind of into our community.
Right. Jim Murin said that he changed the entire plan of MGM to have a plaza connected to it. That wasn't part of the original plan, but it was because of the plaza that's right behind me at 1350 Main Street. That was something that intrigued him to create something like that.
Really want to dive into the reason that we're here. I've been teasing it a little bit too far. It's the big, giant, brand new Springfield mural on Bridge Street. It's such an amazing mural. All of you have been working on this for such a long time. We've got to tell everybody about it. First of all, what was the inspiration to do something like this? Like, why did you even pick this?
Well, we were kind of, after we finished the last one, the Blooms mural, we won a historic preservation award for it, ironically enough. And then the mayor and stuff invited us to do another mural. And we were at a couple different sites. We came up and then kind of got put off because the different organizations didn't want it at the time. They wanted to put it off till next year.
Okay.
And stuff. So eventually we wound up on this bid building because Evan spoke with the people of the bid and stuff, and Paul Picknelli and stuff, and thinking about the history of Springfield, the 51st of Springfield.
Yes.
And can we do something to include some of those? And so then we thinking of postcards across the country, with the words of the city. So we figured we'd do something like that, where that would be our main basis. But beyond that, it became intuition, where every day we were kind of counting on divinity to give us the answers for everything. And so every day they would come. And then by the end, we just can't stop looking at it. And there's so much information that wound up in it that it's really a lot of fun.
Let's talk about some of that information. Let's bring us down. Let's start at S. What's happening inside of S?
That's a statue of Padmasambhava, which is a Himalayan mystic. He is a statue that I made with a Tibetan master, which is on permanent view in the Springfield Museums and the George Walter Vincent Smith Art Discovery Center.
Okay.
He's filled with semi-precious jewels and incense and a cedar life pole, carved obelisk with Sanskrit prayers on it and dried flowers and stuff. And we had lamas there consecrating it when we finished it. And then we did Buddhist murals running the length of the museum. It's like about 100 and something feet long. And in this gallery that's got Tiffany stained glass windows and giant Buddhist paintings. And so I like just kind of referencing other things we've done in the city so you can kind of compound them and see them in a glance, you know?
Yes. So bring me to P.
And then P. What's the P? Is that the Basketball Hall of Fame, Susan? I can't remember.
The elephant.
Oh, it's the elephant.
The elephant.
Oh, yeah. That's
I'm sorry, John. I probably should have had a picture of your mural up for the podcast.
Well, I got it here.
Kind of lazy work for my podcasting work.
I should know it by now. That's so burned into my mind. But Susan can remind me. So anyways, it's the elephant from the Springfield Science Museum, taxidermied elephant named Suicide Sam. That's
his name, Suicide Sam.
Yep.
I remember. Everybody remembers that elephant. You didn't go on your third grade field trip and not see that elephant.
Exactly. And he's very memorable. And I've had people come up in the city going, "Why is there an elephant in a mural about Springfield?"
Keep going down Springfield. Where are we on R?
What's next? Basketball Hall of Fame. We had to get that in there, you know.
Yeah, we're city of really basketball. Great. You can't miss that.
We're very proud. The Campanile. Yep. We restored it. Put some of the corbels or whatever the pylons up on the top that aren't.
Yeah, those aren't
anymore.
there anymore, right? No. But you restored it to its original.
Exactly, with a really low expense for the city, you know.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Abraham Lincoln signed the paperwork to have that built.
Oh, that's beautiful. Right? Yeah, we knew that. Now we do.
So we have the Campanile and then now N.
Or Madden. The I, or is the R?
I is the Campanile.
The next one's St. Michael's Cathedral.
Okay.
Which is right next to the museums. And with each one of those, we're like, okay, here's this letter. What would fit in there? And I would just drive around the city looking for things that would fit into the mural and stuff. But it wound up seeming like it makes sense by the time it's all done.
That's interesting. So even the medium that you're working with kind of spoke to what imagery that you were able to create inside of that.
Exactly. So if you have an eye, you have something thin within. I think that's where the Campanile is because it's tall and thin.
Just such great colors, too, inside of the mural. I love how the 3D letters and the fonts that you created, the nice rainbow effect colors underneath. It just looks it's so pleasing to the eye. And it really is a warm and fuzzy feeling when you look at it. What's next? Are we on G now?
Oh, yeah, well, also with the colors, I did it all in black and white, then I let Susan go crazy with the color, and she really did go crazy.
Was that you, Susan? You added all the color?
It worked out great with both of us.
Yeah, we worked really good as a team there, too, also with Madden. And so what are we on, the G?
I think we're on G.
Oh, G's the Memorial Bridge with the GB airplane flying over it.
Come on, you got two things. That's a twofer.
Exactly. And I like layering those things. So there's things coming out of the letters, like the elephant's trunk and then the GB airplane. They overlap the edges, so it gives it a sense of three-dimensionality.
And Susan, what's in the F?
So the F is from Forest Park, the Three Graces. It's a statue in there.
Yeah, we like putting that in there.
From the mausoleum?
Yep, right behind the mausoleum.
Everybody knows where that is. If you haven't been to Forest Park from Springfield, everybody takes a walk up to the mausoleum. That's what was in Dr. Seuss's books. He drew that out himself.
Inspired him. It's so interesting.
It's interesting to see the inspiration inspiring and continuing to inspire, because he was inspired by that, and then you're inspired by his work, and I can't imagine the young people that walk by your work and catch that inspiration. You know, that's something that I wanted to share with all of you about sitting with all of these artists, and I just wanted to take a moment myself and thank all of you, because, you know, here in Springfield we do have some challenges, and we live through 4 harsh seasons. It's like 95 degrees out here in September, and your artwork is like water or nutrition to all of us as we grow through these seasons here in Springfield, and you feed us with this uplifting color that's throughout everywhere as we walk around downtown, and it just wasn't so a decade ago. I can feel the difference when I walk around. And as Evan pointed out in the beginning of our conversation, people's opinions of Springfield, because of the artwork, is literally changing. So I want to thank you all for really pouring into our community.
Thank you. We really love that. And, for years I do stuff inside the museums, like the Egyptian things and stuff, all the different Tibetan Buddhist temples, which was great, but it was like a smaller audience compared to when you do something right outside on a street, and you get everybody seeing it. So you really engage completely with community when you do that.
And people have been coming up to you, because I have some video where you were actually painting a gentleman who spends a lot of time in the Stern Square Park. Would he come up to you and say, hey, why don't you paint me a picture?
Exactly.
And you just said, why not? We'll put you in there.
And so now it's a chain reaction that everybody that's up there pretty much says, why don't you put me up there? And so the next day I put him up there, and it helps me figure out my subject matter.
Maybe I could send you a picture with me, the microphone.
Oh, yeah, you got it. We'll have you next to a cat or something.
Evan's got to get going. He's a busy guy. Evan, thank you so much for taking time to meet with us today.
Thank you, Lisa.
Keep the conversation going, if you don't mind, while in your absence.
All righty. Thank you. You're in good hands here.
After this small break, when Evan Plotkin had to leave and go to meetings, now we're back with the four of us. So we're going to continue on our explanation of the new Springfield mural over on Bridge Street, created by these three lovely artists here from City Mosiac. I think, Susan, you've been doing really well at keeping me on track here. Where were we? Were we on the F or the I now?
We were on the F. Now we're on I.
Now we're on I. So what is taking place inside of the I on that mural?
So F, I, and E are all from Forest Park.
Okay.
I is the Indian. It's an Indian carving.
Oh, the big Indian sculpture there. I remember when that was being carved. I believe the artist's name was Peter Wolf. He has one in each state, if I'm not mistaken. And it was it was an awesome thing to watch be created. I was amazed as a young person to see how each thing kind of like goes into the next inside of that. Is it a totem?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, I loved it too as a kid. So magical and stuff. And I love that we're going to have a QR code and stuff for the mural, and we'll get this name out there of the medicine man. That it's a thing. It's a Miskanoagwiak.
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 That's the name of that.
So I just love the idea of having the medicines man name being said by people in the contemporary world and bringing things forward.
How many Springfield residents like myself had no idea that it even had a name?
Probably most.
So this is a great way to get this story out there and let people know. I'm excited about that. So does that complete the Forest Park, or is there one more letter in Forest Park?
One more.
Okay, that's E, right?
The Sphinx.
The Sphinx.
Oh yeah, that's the Sphinx at Barney Mausoleum with K. Simpson there.
And then so now we're down to the L and the D. We're almost done. What's in the L?
The L is from the Dr. Seuss Museum. It's the turtle tower.
It's one of the sculptures that we were talking about earlier.
Another self-referential thing of something that we design and stuff. Now we put it in the mural.
You designed that sculpture?
Yeah.
Oh man, I absolutely there's something about it's extremely fun, whimsical, and it really creates a space of playfulness. And anytime that I'm in that garden with our daughter, I can't help but want to play because of all of the sculptures and the way that they are presented.
Well, thank you, especially the ones that we did. It always makes me totally happy seeing people posing with them.
Yes.
Just like the way people respond to it all.
Can't climb on Lorax anymore, though.
Well, it gets really hot in the summertime.
So, all right, so we're down. It's D, right? Are we finally here? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
What's the last letter, girls?
That's where we started. That was the first one.
Oh, Madden, did you work on D?
I didn't work on any of the letters.
You didn't work?
No. I was really mostly the abstractions and a few portraits, but mostly the abstractions.
Okay. Mm-hmm. We're going to get, actually, as soon as we're done with D, we're going to go to the abstractions in the black and white. So what is in D? Tell everybody what's happening inside of D.
D was the first letter that we filled, and it is the statue of the Puritan, Samuel Chapin.
Yeah, which used to stand in Stern Square for many years.
Okay.
It got moved, I think it was in the 70s or something. Now it's up near the museums.
It's up in the museums. That's like Father Springfield that they said on The Simpsons, right?
Exactly. Jebediah
Springfield or something. So that's the Puritan.
Yeah, by Augustus St. Gaudin.
And what does that statue mean?
Well, I think it's like it used to be located in Stern Square, and there's a fountain that went with it that's still there, where it's got like the planet Earth with the fish spraying water out of it.
And the turtles, yes.
And the turtles, yeah. And I always thought it was like the Puritan was walking across the park, stepping over the stone bench in the middle, then crossing the water of the fountain to get to the new world
Yeah, okay, I like that.
and land in Springfield.
Thank you for spending some time and explaining every letter of the Springfield mural, because I know there are a lot of folks who want to come down and look at it. If they watch and listen to the show, they're going to know exactly what they're seeing. And there's a lot more than just the Springfield color mural on that building. I see that there's a ton of abstract black and white, and there's some other murals. I think I could have swore was Evan Plotkin's face being painted the other day.
Yeah, you did witness that.
Well, good for you guys for immortalizing Evan. I'm proud that you did
Yeah,
that.
he had it coming, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if the guys in the park are going to be there, you got to have Evan on there.
Who puts more time into hanging out and doing like creative things in Springfield than Evan?
I don't
Mr.
know.
Springfield.
He is
Yeah.
Mr. Springfield. Talk to me a little bit about some of the black and white. So I love how it goes up to the fire escape. I mean, it has so much movement, and yet there's a lot more portraits that we haven't even talked about. There's a ton of people on that wall. Who else is on that wall?
You got Kurt Russell in there, who was born in Springfield, as Snake Plissken. You got John Brown's like stuck in the wall. There's like a hole in the bricks. And actually, when it's a windy day or stormy, he actually moves around in there.
Really?
Yeah, the first time I saw it, I thought I was kind of losing my mind. And then
John
Susan
Brown
says,
Army.
"Do you see that?" I'm like, "See what?"
It has movement.
Yeah, he moves back and forth when it's like a stormy night or day,
Wow.
you know. And we have Eleanor Powell 3 times in the mural, jumping through the sky. Another one's a portrait. Another one's her dancing. And Madden's mom, Mackie, what did you call it? What she do to things?
She came in and she bedazzled some of her outfit.
She bedazzles things.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she has a completely rhinestoned hat on. Her shoes are rhinestoned and her belts are rhinestoned as well. Yeah, so she's a sparkly element. She's like a special element.
Yeah,
I like that.
When you see it in the morning, the sun, it glitters like diamonds. And at night, the car lights reflect in it, too. So it's really so alive.
You were sharing the other day when I had the opportunity to do some filming that as the sun sets and reflects off of the other windows, it actually lights up other parts of the wall, kind of creating a little bit of a light dance.
That's really wild. Another one of those unexpected things where this dappled light creates like spotlights on different characters, and all of a sudden something's important in the mural. You know, things stand out at different times.
Sure.
Which reminded me kind of like these things that nature does. Like I said, when you plant a garden, you always wind up with volunteer plants that like also have flowers on them and blooms and stuff. But like in Court Square, I painted Judy Garland, and when night fell, the lights came on, and then saw that the lights shone through a tree, so it looked like she was looking into the moon with like the shadows of the leaves moving on her forehead.
Wow.
And people would line up taking pictures and just
to see that almost animation that was created by the street lights and the moon.
Yeah, it looks like she's dreaming or something, or thinking deeply.
Wow. That must be really a satisfying part of your job when you create something and then something else kind of comes out of that creation.
It's the best part. And that's kind of like this Springfield one especially, where the 3 of us all did our stuff. We all gave it our all. We worked in perfect unison, but none of us had any idea of what the cumulative effect would be. So now at the end, we stand the last hour of every day, it seems, just staring silently at it, and like trying to reflect upon what the composition means and how deep it is, because we keep seeing new stuff coming from our own marks.
What does it mean to you, John? And I'm going to ask both of you this question. What does it mean to you to be able to present a piece of work like this to a community?
It makes me feel really satisfied, and I feel like I'm spending my time well in the summer, and the response is so constant and so appreciative, and people spend so long on this one and pointing and learning and stuff. I couldn't ask for anything more from doing a public artwork. You know?
Outstanding. The learning.
Yep.
Madden?
For me, it's kind of the ultimate example of giving without expecting any receival or anything like that. So as you're working on it and you're putting your all into it, it's really nice that people will respond and stuff like that, but at the same time, it's really just about the artwork and getting the artwork out there. And a happy accident that comes from it is like there's the recognition and the sort of like community building thing, but really what I've found that I've been doing is I'm trying to give to the building that we're working on, and I'm trying to create something beautiful for that building because it's been kind of lost for a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
Susan, the same question for you. What does it mean to you to create something like this for the community?
Playing off of what Madden said, it's a gift to the building. It gives it a new identity. it's also a gift to the community, and I love seeing how much they enjoy it, how they just appreciate it as well. And we also receive gifts ourselves. Those little unexpected surprises that we've found along the way, those are also gifts that we take. And it's been very gratifying, but also I'm very grateful to be able to work on it and to create this.
What was your favorite part about working on this particular mural, Susan?
About working on it. I worked mostly on the letters, and I loved putting in the color and seeing the contrast that it gave to the whole art, the whole piece, with the black and white, the color, seeing it come to life. And yeah, I especially love the skies, putting in the
sky
sunset
looks great,
and then the clouds. Those are my favorite parts.
You know, we were having a reflection yesterday too, which I thought was pretty interesting. It's like the one we did last year, the balloons one, is like tons of bright color and stuff. It's super colorful, but we had black and white elements in it of different characters, historical figures and stuff. And then this is like the reverse.
Okay.
So this one's all like black and white, then with the color detail and stuff.
Sure.
So it's nice, like they balance each other out, you know?
Yes, I would definitely agree with that, especially as you walk down Worthington Street and you can see the one off of Worthington, and then you come over into Bridge. There's definitely some balance and color. And I didn't even think of that until you shared that.
I only thought of it yesterday.
Hey, it worked out well.
Yeah.
Welcome to Fly by the Seat of Your Pants Productions.
Exactly. It'd be a good logo, pants with wings on them or something.
Well, this has just been so wonderful. I'm so grateful to have you all here in the studio to share your story about the mural and really all of the efforts that you've been doing. What's next for City Mosiac, and what can the community hope to see coming forward?
Well, we're already moving into the next mural, which is connected to that one. You're just going around the corner, so that'll be the front of the building.
You're just going right around the building now,
We
right?
can't stop.
Are
Yeah.
you going to go all the way? You're going to go all the way to the other parking lot side?
Yeah, we're going to make a few marks today probably just to
Oh,
make
no
sure
kidding.
claim it, you know. Yeah, with the walls continuing around there, as we get more of them, we've been getting a lot of wows. And Kay came up with the idea for us as thinking of ourselves as the walls of wonder. So we want to keep going around creating these so-called wonder walls.
The Walls of Wonder. So that's going to be like that's almost like your nickname, right? Because
Exactly.
it's City Mosaic, but it's really the Walls of Wonder team that's just going around and creating. Wow. That's how it works, right? Hey, that's great. You know, everything that you guys do just seems like you have such a perfect artistic flair to it. We're lucky to have you in our community. Thank you so much.
So if you're just into giving, then people are always happy about it because they're getting something.
I think that's a great place for us to segue out of here. It's really been a gift to be here with you and to listen and to learn about everything that's happening inside of City Mosaic, the beautiful artwork that you're all creating throughout our city, and really enriching all of our lives with color, art, happiness, and joy. I want to thank you all very much. And it's been a really wonderful conversation.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you so much.
All right. On behalf of everybody here at One Financial Plaza and Every Single Thing 413, we like to thank you for sticking around to the end of this episode. And make sure you follow us for the next one.